Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today we're going to be talking about one of the best new weapons available in the In the Name of the Tsar DLC. And of course, we are talking about the Parabellum MG14 for the support class. There's been a few game-changing weapons in this DLC so far, and the MG14 basically adds the highest damage output to the machine gun category, way beyond anything else available. In addition to not only having the highest damage per second, it also has a 100-round spindle magazine. Unfortunately, the low-weight variant of this weapon is incredibly difficult to unlock. A lot of people have been struggling with shooting down airplanes with machine guns. You have to shoot down 2 different airplanes with a machine gun, and that can be a lot harder than you think, especially when somebody else is shooting it, or you have like 4 other machine gunners shooting at it, or an anti-aircraft cannon shooting at it. A lot of the time it just comes down to an issue of luck. Are you going to get the last hit on that airplane? Now I'm playing on Monte Grappa here because the plane's flying real close and makes them great machine gun targets, and I actually got 2 plane kills in 1 single life here, which is, I mean, I gotta say, it wasn't the first time I was trying. I tried this for like several games in a row and didn't get anything, and then I got 2 plane kills in 1 life, so it just kind of goes to show you it's really hit or miss. In addition to the 2 airplane kills, you also need 20 airburst mortar kills to unlock the low weight version. The 20 airburst kills shouldn't be too difficult. Just find a map with heavy infantry density and plop down that mortar and fire away. You should get those 20 kills within a game or 2. And then we have the suppressive version of this machine gun, which I actually ended up using to get the airplane kills, so I unlocked it first, obviously. And to unlock it, you have to perform 40 kills with the Lewis low-weight machine gun, and you also need 50 vehicle repairs. So basically, get into a tank, hop out when it gets damaged, repair it for the driver. You'll eventually get those 50 vehicle repairs. And the 40 kills with the Lewis low-weight machine gun were easy peasy. I really like the Lewis, and it's a decent LMG overall. Now, reviewing this weapon right now is sort of weird, and I've kind of held off on a lot of the weapon reviews because we're seeing a lot of changes to the guns in the CTE. A lot of the damage outputs are going to change, and even many of the machine guns are going to have completely different spread mechanics after the CTE patch, assuming they do keep the mechanics that are in the CTE right now. So it does get a little weird doing weapon reviews at this point when we know there's so many drastic changes coming down the road, hopefully in the near future, but nonetheless, the Parabellum is bringing something else to the table that is changing up the machine gun world in a significant way. Previously, the fastest firing machine gun was 600 rounds per minute. That was the BAR, and it only had a 20 round magazine, and it did 23 damage maximum. Well, now the Parabellum shoots 700 rounds per minute, a whole 100 rounds per minute faster than the previously fastest firing LMG in the game, and it does the exact same maximum damage with a comparable damage fall off. So you've got a huge amount of damage potential in your magazine. You can take on multiple enemies in close quarters, and the damage output is absolutely excellent. It can go toe-to-toe with many of the SMGs in the game, only it's got 100 rounds to boot. So it's a very, very good close quarters machine gun. Now, if you're running with the suppressive variant, you have the bipod to enhance your accuracy at further ranges. I will say the low weight version is very difficult to use at further ranges, so it's more of a close to medium range weapon. Not to say you can't get kills at further ranges, but it gets very tricky very quickly. It's not designed for long range shooting, and there's many times at which I thought that a different machine gun would have been far better for the specific scenario I was in, or the combat engagement distances I was fighting at. I was playing on Sinai Desert, and there's a few clips of that towards the end of this video. Many of the engagement distances were really far, at which point the MG14 really did not do well. It wasn't a good weapon for that map, or at least fighting outside of the city area on that map. So picking the right map and the right combat scenario is vital. Just because this has the highest damage per second compared to any other LMG in the game doesn't automatically make it better. DICE did a decent job of balancing this weapon so that it isn't what I would consider to be overpowered. Now, if you're playing on something like Argonne Force, where most of the combat is going to be close to medium range, then yeah, this machine gun could be argued as being one of the best options out there. But there's still some long sight lines on this map, at which point I thought, you know, having a BAR or some of the more accurate machine guns would have done a bit better. Now, the main differences between the MG14 suppressive and the MG14 low weight is that the suppressive has the bipod option and a scope option, where the low weight version has iron sights, but it has reduced spread compared to the suppressive version. So it reduces its spread at a quicker rate than the suppressive version, and you can also recover your recoil a bit quicker in between firing. So generally speaking, the stats on the low weight version are better if you're not bipoded up. If you are going to bipod, then obviously you can only do it with the MG14 suppressive. So you really just kind of have to learn your playstyle. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of machine gun bipods, but I do find them useful from time to time when deploying on ledges or out of windows or something like that. So really figure out your playstyle. If you don't use bipod a lot, then without question, go for the low weight variant. One of the most fun things to do with this weapon is just having the ability to mow down multiple people in a row without needing to reload. You do have to watch out for the overheat mechanic on this weapon. You'll get used to it pretty quickly. You cannot burn through all 100 rounds by just holding mouse button 1. You're going to overheat and have to stop shooting altogether. But if you burst fire properly, you can easily chew through a whole squad without needing to worry about the overheat mechanic. I also really like watching the reload animation on this weapon. It's the only gun in the game that has a spindle type magazine where you're literally just like putting a new spindle of bullets on the side of your weapon, and you can watch the bullets rotate in and come out the other side of this machine gun. It just looks awesome. It looks very retro, kind of almost steampunk-like in design. And I mean, really, steampunk gets a lot of its design cues from like World War I era machinery, and so I mean that's obviously why it looks a little more steampunk. But again, I just love the looks and the visuals of this gun. Now, some cool facts about this weapon is that it was primarily used as an aircraft machine gun in World War I. The ammo belt on it has actually got cloth ammo loops, so it makes the ammunition belt significantly lighter. So many of the design aspects around this weapon were built to perform better with aircraft, but many of them could have been or probably were retrofitted during the war for infantry use. So although this probably wasn't too common to be seen on the actual World War I battlefield, it is kind of cool to know a little bit about the history of it and how many of the weapons during World War I might have been designed for one thing and then retrofitted for another. Now, if the new CTE weapons patch drops and upgrades the damage and changes the spread mechanics totally, we will have to re-look at this weapon, but if it gets the same damage buff as many of the other lightweight machine guns get, then it could be a really powerful weapon in most people's hands. So we might have to re-look at the MG14 again. It's still a very, very deadly close to medium range weapon, but if it gets that damage upgrade, it could be a real powerhouse that we start seeing a lot more of. Now, if you didn't get the In the Name of the Tsar DLC and are wondering, like, does this gun give my opponents a huge advantage over me? I would say it depends. If you're playing on a very close quarters map, then yeah, the MG14 is probably one of the best machine guns you can get. Are you going to be severely outdamaged if you're running with a BAR? No, not really. In fact, you'll probably still do really well. I don't know if I'm going to switch over to the MG14 for all CQB combat. I think some of the other machine guns give me a little bit better versatility, and I appreciate that because many of the firefights I get into, even on CQB maps, end up being medium range, and at those ranges the MG14 isn't necessarily a huge advantage. Close quarters, without question, one of the best machine guns in the game. Medium range, we've got a lot of contenders out there. So I wouldn't feel too bad if you didn't get the In the Name of the Tsar DLC and don't have this machine gun, but it is good to sort of understand its strengths and weaknesses. So if you know your opponents are running with one, maybe try and engage them at slightly further ranges with whatever your weapon is, and you're likely going to win that fight. In addition to that, shotguns, automaticos, even some of the other little SMGs can go toe-to-toe with this weapon no problem. So if you're getting frustrated by its power in close quarters, maybe try going assault to counter it. Now, one of the worst things about this weapon is that if you're trying to unlock the lightweight variant and you've got to take down 2 airplanes with machine guns, that can be really difficult. It took me a while. It was really frustrating, and then I ended up getting a whole bunch of airplane kills in one round. Some advice I've heard is get on an anti-aircraft cannon, do 90% of the damage, then hop off the AA cannon, switch to machine gun. This can work. I tried it a little, and it just ended up that either I would get the kill with the AA cannon by accident, or somebody else would actually take the plane kill with an LMG instead. So, I mean, whatever works for you. Monte Grappa worked really well for me. Getting up high in those mountains and letting the airplanes come dive real low and taking them out was a pretty decent way to put a lot of LMG damage out there. As always, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.